What if I told you that the difference between those who rule and those who are ruled is unintelligence? Isn't talent and isn't even luck? What if the secret to commanding any room, bending any conversation to your will, and rising above the masses who scramble for scraps of attention lies not in what you do, but in what you refuse to do? What if true power isn't about speaking louder, but about knowing when to stay silent? What if dominance isn't about showing your strength, but about hiding your strategy until the perfect moment to strike? In a world drowning in noise, deception, and endless distraction, most people are falling behind. Not because they lack strength, not because they lack faith, but because they have never learned to see the battlefield clearly. They stumble through life reacting instead of responding, speaking when they should listen, revealing when they should conceal. They give away their power with every careless word, every emotional outburst, every desperate attempt to be understood by those who are never meant to understand them. We are called to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves, not timid sheep waiting to be led to slaughter, not gullible fools swallowing every lie fed to us, but wise strategists who move with purpose through a world that rewards cunning over kindness. Today, I want to speak to you not about greed, not about tyranny, but about dominion through wisdom, influence through character, and power through righteous clarity. If you want to walk into any room and command not just attention, but true authority that makes others lean forward when you speak, listen closely. If you want to stop being overlooked, outmaneuvered, and outsmarted by those who understand the game while you're still trying to figure out the rules, then what I'm about to share will transform how you move through this world. Here are 5 divine ancient principles. Yes, Machiavellian, by the world's terms, but deeply rooted in timeless truth that will help you outsmart anyone and rise above the chaos of manipulation and lies that surrounds us. The first rule that separates the dominant from the dominated, the leaders from the lead, is this: master the power of silence. But understand this clearly: silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power restrained. It is self-mastery under pressure when everyone around you is losing their composure. It is discipline in a world that demands constant noise, constant reaction, constant validation. And let me tell you, we live in the noisiest world that has ever existed in human history. The moment you open your eyes each morning, the world begins its assault on your peace. From the notifications buzzing on your phone like digital locusts demanding your attention, to the endless opinions spewing from television screens, from the relentless commentary flooding your social media feeds to the idle chatter that fills every hallway, every gathering place, every moment of potential silence, there is no shortage of words in this world. Words are cheap, abundant, and utterly worthless when they flow from mouths that have never learned the discipline of restraint. But among all this cacophony of meaningless noise, how rare and valuable is the soul who knows when to speak and when to stay silent. There is profound wisdom in holding your tongue when others are spilling their secrets, their strategies, their weaknesses with every thoughtless word. There is tremendous strength in not having to say everything you know, not having to prove every point that crosses your mind, not having to correct every misunderstanding that others cling to in their ignorance. Because real power, authentic authority, true dominance, does not need to announce itself to the world. It doesn't need to shout to be heard above the crowd. It doesn't need to defend itself against every criticism or explain itself to every critic. It simply exists, unshakable and undeniable. And when you walk in that kind of presence, rooted in unshakable truth, stable in your identity, secure in your purpose, you begin to realize something that will change everything about how you interact with the world. Silence is not weakness, as the chattering masses believe. Silence is strategy. Silence is the mark of someone who has learned to play a deeper game than the surface-level performers who exhaust themselves trying to be seen and heard by everyone. There is a passage of ancient wisdom that speaks of the power of being quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Do you know why this principle has guided the wise for thousands of years? Because when you are slow to speak, you give yourself the opportunity to see clearly while others are blinded by their own emotions. You listen not just to formulate your response, but to truly understand the hearts, minds, and motivations of those around you. And when you understand people at this deeper level, when you can see past their words to their real intentions, past their masks to their true fears and desires, you have gained the ultimate advantage in any interaction. Most people talk to be seen, to be validated, to feel important in a world that makes them feel small. But the wise stay silent to see more, to understand more, to gather intelligence, while others are broadcasting their ignorance. When you speak too quickly, driven by emotion or the need to be right, you reveal too much of yourself. You show your hand before the game is finished. You give your emotions a microphone and your enemies a detailed map to your mind. You telegraph your next move to those who are watching, waiting, calculating how to use your own words against you. But when you remain silent, when you choose your words carefully and speak only when speaking serves your greater purpose, you become unreadable, unpredictable, and in many ways untouchable. Those who rush to speak, who feel compelled to fill every silence with their opinions, give away their power with every careless word. They hand their enemies ammunition and wonder why they keep getting shot down in conversations, meetings, and conflicts. But those who wait to speak, who understand that timing is everything in communication, receive the power that others carelessly discard. They become the ones that others watch, listen to, and ultimately follow when leadership is needed. Think about the nature of a lion, the king of the jungle. It doesn't roar before it hunts. It doesn't announce its presence to the prey. It moves silently, slowly, with full awareness of its environment and complete confidence in its abilities. It doesn't waste energy on noise, on posturing, on trying to intimidate through volume. The roar comes after the kill, not before. It's a declaration of victory, not a desperate plea for respect. Many people today are roaring all the time and catching nothing. They're making noise constantly but achieving nothing of substance. They're demanding respect they haven't earned, claiming authority they don't possess, speaking with confidence about things they don't understand. But those who keep their mouths closed when others are babbling, who observe carefully while others are performing, who wait for the exact right moment to speak with precision and power, those are the ones who strike with devastating effectiveness when action is required. Some of you reading this are in situations right now where you're being provoked. People are trying to get a reaction out of you. They're poking at your pride, challenging your beliefs, questioning your authority, or attacking your character. They want to see you unravel. They want to watch you stumble over your own words in anger or desperation. They want to draw you into their drama, their chaos, their level of dysfunction. But hear me clearly. Do not fall for this bait. You don't have to respond to every accusation thrown at you. You don't have to defend yourself in every conversation where your name comes up. You don't have to correct every lie, address every rumor, or set the record straight every time someone misrepresents you. Sometimes, and this will be hard for your ego to accept, the greatest answer is no answer at all. The most powerful response is no response. The truth will stand on its own if you give it time to do so. But only the wise have the patience and the confidence to let truth defend itself, while they remain above the fray. And let us not forget the spiritual dimension of silence that transcends mere strategy. When you're silent, you're not just avoiding meaningless noise and protecting your position. You're making room in your mind and spirit to hear from a higher source of wisdom, some of the most powerful breakthroughs, the most profound insights. The most life-changing revelations don't happen while you're talking, debating, or trying to prove your point to others. They happen in the quiet moments, in the stillness, when your mind isn't cluttered with the need to respond. In those sacred moments when you turn down the volume of the world and tune your heart toward heaven. When you cultivate silence as a discipline, not just as a tactic, you sharpen your perception to levels that will astonish you. You begin to notice the real motives behind people's words, the hidden agendas beneath their smiles, the tension behind their laughter, the fear behind their aggression, the truth behind the masks that everyone wears in public. You start seeing situations and people not as they appear on the surface, but as they really are at the deeper levels, where real decisions are made and real power is exercised. Because silence is not emptiness, it's not vacancy, it's not the absence of thought or awareness. True silence is heightened awareness. It's consciousness without the clutter of constant commentary. It's presence without the need for performance. There are people who walk into rooms and immediately command attention, not because they speak first or loudest, but because they say nothing at all, and somehow everyone still feels compelled to wait and hear what wisdom might eventually flow from their lips. That's the kind of magnetic presence you cultivate when you master the art and science of strategic silence. This isn't forced quietness that feels awkward and unnatural. This isn't fake mysteriousness that everyone can see through immediately. This is authentic, steady, anchored presence that doesn't need external validation to feel secure. A person who doesn't need to speak constantly to prove their worth has already demonstrated their value by their confidence in remaining quiet. Make no mistake about this, others can sense that strength immediately. They can feel the power behind your restraint, the authority behind your silence, the confidence that doesn't need to constantly announce itself. You become a mystery that intrigues rather than intimidates, a force that attracts rather than repels, a presence that unsettles the shallow and empowers the discerning. You become the kind of person who can walk through fire without getting burned, endure criticism without crumbling, listen to gossip without retaliating, hear false rumors about yourself without losing your peace or your purpose. Not because you don't feel the heat, the sting, the temptation to defend yourself, but because you know who really holds the power in any situation. The second rule that will elevate you above those who stumble through life, reacting to circumstances rather than shaping them, is this: control, perception, control power. This is where most good people lose the game before they even realize they're playing it. They focus on being right while their enemies focus on appearing right. They concentrate on having the truth while their opposition concentrates on shaping what others believe to be true. Here's a reality that will disturb those who prefer comfortable illusions. People are not led by truth. They are led by what they believe is true, what they believe is not always, or even usually, shaped by facts, evidence, or reality. It is shaped by perception, presentation, and the skillful manipulation of emotions and assumptions. That is the real battlefield where power is won and lost. That is the hidden lever that moves the world. If you can control how people see you, if you can shape the narrative about who you are and what you represent, you don't need to control much else. Because the one who controls perception ultimately controls the outcome of every interaction, negotiation, and conflict. There are countless individuals who labor tirelessly to be good, to be right, to be honest, to be virtuous. They pour their hearts into noble causes, speak truth even when it costs them, to maintain their integrity when everyone around them is compromising theirs. But they are ignored, overlooked, passed over for promotions, dismissed in conversations, treated as irrelevant in the very circles where their wisdom is most needed. Not because they lack character, competence, or insight, but because they never learned the art of presentation. They never understood that in a world driven by first impressions and surface judgments, substance without style is often powerless. Meanwhile, there are others often less wise, less moral, less qualified, who rise to positions of influence and prosperity, who gather followers and accumulate power, not because of the truth they carry or the value they provide, but because of the image they project and the perceptions they carefully cultivate. They understand that this world, fair or unfair, does not reward what is hidden in the heart. It responds to what is seen by the eyes, heard by the ears, and felt in the gut reactions of those who make decisions based on impressions rather than investigations. This is a harsh reality that will challenge those who believe that good work should speak for itself, that truth will always rise to the top, that character alone is sufficient for success. But it's a reality that you must not be blind to if you want to operate effectively in the world as it actually exists rather than as you wish it existed. You may possess courage, conviction, and vision that could change lives and transform situations. But if others do not perceive these qualities in you, if you cannot make them visible and compelling to those around you, then people will retreat. Why?